Jim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the snowy Public Works and Finance Committee meeting for February 11th, 2019. And making a grand entrance right now is Councilor Anzawala. Are you situated to the point where you might be able to vote?
I can vote.
Okay, all right. First item on our agenda today is approval of the Public Works Finance Committee January 28th, 2019 minutes. Anybody corrections or additions to that?
Not good to me.
Okay, I think we can go ahead and put those on the approved side of the ledger. Item number 2 today is the disbursement report for January. Sarah Banks is going to tell us how we spent the money.
Good afternoon. Looking at the disbursement report for month ending January 31st, 2019, major expenditures totaled $2,479,900. Our largest expenditure was payroll, coming in at $1,087,151. I have a few things to point out that were larger expenditures. Our largest one was our final payment to Pullman for the regional airport project at $500,000. We had our RPT quarterly payment for $31,837. We purchased a couple of new vehicles, a Ford F-550 for streets. That was $36,901, and we purchased a 3-ton Chevy for fire for $237. And we also paid our airport operating and maintenance payment to City of Pullman at the same time as the $500,000 payment, and that was $36,500.
Good, thank you very much. Anything else you want to point out about that?
Nope, that's pretty much
I didn't
it.
see anything with extra zeros on it, so it's okay to me. So we can pass it around to have it signed then, huh?
Sorry.
It's great to have a little background music while we sign things, yeah?
You know, a blizzard just really throws your day off.
We're all good with that? Okay, item number 3 on today's agenda is a resolution for destruction of city records. And Lori's going to talk to us about that. She's
I am here.
solved the time-space continuum and got over there without being noticed.
And so Idaho code allows us to destroy records with council approval. And so this keeps up with the retention periods for all of our records. And I believe a list was included for the item, a draft resolution? Okay. And all the departments are sent an email asking which records they can destroy, and so all of those came from the other departments, and we're ready to go have a shred day.
And those all go by Mia, so she knows
Yep.
if there's anything that's going to cause us trouble for destroying.
Everything's by the resolution that was adopted in 2008 by City Council.
Okay?
How does it work with digital files versus the paper files?
Email, IS takes care of, and it is kept for 2 years, and they destroy that once the resolution, they delete that once the resolution is approved. Electronic files should be also deleted per that department, but paper-wise, we come out here and have a shred day. But after that is approved, all departments should be deleting those.
Thank you.
We don't have a records management system yet, but we're working on that too.
Great.
Okay. Anyone have questions or objections to that resolution? And I think we could put that on a consent agenda for next Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Item number 4 today is the Hamilton Indoor Recreation Center exterior painting project. It's a 2019 bid award. Dave Schott's going to tell us about that.
good afternoon. Thank you.
Sir?
So again, this is the HERC Exterior Painting Project 2019 bid award. Parks and Recreation Department is requesting authorization to retain Die Hard Painting out of Lewiston for the HERC painting project for $48,000 with a 10% contingency of $4,800 for a total amount not to exceed $52,800. The HERC is a 20,200 square foot composite board siding facility. This was built in 2004. It hasn't been repainted since then, so we're getting to be kind of at that time where it's fading out and probably needs a good coat of paint. So, this project will includes a removal of the surface contamination. They'll pressure wash the building, get it cleaned up. We are having some more replacement of some of the siding. A few of those done in a separate contract with a different contractor. So, but they'll prime that and caulk it and all that good stuff in this painting project. So, and they'll apply 2 coats of exterior paint. It's hard to make out in some of these pictures, but you can see some of the Columbia paint in the past that it was originally painted with is kind of bleeding out a little bit. So we issued a solicitation of bids on January 2nd of 2019 to 7 painting contractors. We did get 3 bids. They ranged from $48,000 to $54,830. The budget for the project was $52,800. This will be coming out of the Hamilton Indoor Recreation Center R&M buildings. If this is approved, we're looking at having this work done in July. So we're giving them a month. So our recommendation is for council to authorize and accept the responsive low bid from Die Hard Painting in the amount of $48,000 with a 10% contingency of $4,800. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Does the job come with any sort of warranty on the lifetime in the paint? Is that part of the contract?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up, Jim. But we are using pretty good paint out of Sherman-Williams. We spec that out in the specs. And so it's good stuff.
Anybody else?
Nope, I think we should move forward with it.
Yeah, I just have one question. When you have prices that are that comparable, are there other factors that go into the decision for that kind of a project?
No. Like I said, we were flirting with that $50,000 mark for semi-formal bidding, so I hedged my bets, did the semi-formal biddings, requested written quotes back, and so we're taking the low bid out of the 3. I think we had $48,000, $48,500, and then the $54,000 and change were our 3 bids, so we're just going with the lowest.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. Way better to be ahead of that than wait till it's peeling off, for sure.
Sure.
I think that's a consent agenda item as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, and Jim, I'll follow up with that warranty information.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 5 on today's agenda, city facility bond election ordinance approval. Bill Belknap's going to tell us what's going on with the bond to build us a new police station.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bill.
Just provide a little bit of background on this subject. Through the City Council's strategic planning efforts over the last 4 years, the Council has been actively working to address a number of community needs and items that were considered to be major challenge areas for the city. A number of those included park development, fire truck replacements, as well as city facilities, specifically the need for a new police services facility within the city of Moscow. Several years ago, the council considered a multiple component bond, general obligation bond measure to try to help address these items. That was challenged a little bit with the need to have multiple bond election questions. If you had multiple different types of projects in one election, you'd have to have different specific individual questions for each of those elements. Instead, the council was successful to internally funding and addressing some of these important community needs, like the park development through the use of some of the Hamilton Fund monies, and the fire truck replacements, obtaining some community development block grant funds, as well as other general funds to help facilitate those 2 items. So while those 2 community needs were addressed, We still have not been able to fulfill the need of the police services facility, which is really beyond the city's current capabilities with available resources and funding that we have today. Early in those discussions about the new police facility, it focused upon the current recycling center site. Due to some fluctuations in that recycling market and the community preference that was articulated during the survey that was recently completed with the sanitation master plan, it was decided to leave recycling in its current location, reconfigure it in that location, and that led to the need to identify a new location for that future police facility. After a detailed assessment of a number of sites, we winnowed that down to 3. And then after the review of those 3 locations, the Southview site was determined to be the best site for the proposed use. That site was secured underneath contract to hold it until we could reach a bond election coming up in May of this year. So as you may recall, that site is located there at the intersection of South Main and Southview, just to the west of the Grove. This is the engineered site plan we've now developed in our feasibility phasing of the project. As you may recall, this was the design of the facility that was developed during the 2016 police facility master plan project on that location for that, well, at that point in time for the recycling center location, but we anticipate constructing that facility, same facility on the Southview site. The proposed GEO bond that the council has discussed most recently would include 3 specific projects that includes the construction of that new police services facility at that Southview site, the remodel of the existing police station on 4th Street in order to accommodate other city office demands and needs, as well as a remodel of the Mann building located just here, east here of City Hall, to address and stabilize some cracking of the masonry exterior, replace the roof, and then do a new siding system to extend the functional life of that building. Ultimately, it's intended to move the information systems department that's currently in the Egan Youth Center closer out of the use facility and here closer to City Hall to support other city functions and uses. The projects vary in cost. The police services facility we're estimating at just about $7.8 million. The 4th Street remodel at about 1.5, and then the Mann building exterior renovation would be about $132,000 for the roof and siding systems and masonry stabilization. So that gets us to a total project cost of just over about $9.5 million between all 3 projects. The total bond amount that we're anticipating, once you include the cost of issuance of that bond, is about $7.64 million. 9.64 million, sorry about that. Due to our very good AA- bond rating, we are expecting that we'd receive a very attractive interest rate of 2.21% for a 10-year bond issue. We did analyze a number of different bond financing options, 10, 15, and 20-year terms. Ultimately, we concluded that the 10-year term was the best option. It does save up to $2.3 million in interest expenses when compared to that 20-year bond issue. So we were saving a substantial amount of interest for both the residents, because they're ultimately the ones that pay for this project, and also allow for their funds to go to the most beneficial use to the community. And it had a fairly modest impact to the tax burden of just over $4 per month on a typical $250,000 home when you compare a 10-year bond measure to the 20-year bond measure. So again, a fairly modest tax impact for a very substantial savings in interest cost over the term of the bond. The proposed bond is estimated to cost about $85 per 100,000 in taxable valuation, so that's where we're estimating that tax burden to be. And if you look, if you had a home, let's say with a total assessed valuation of $250,000, you would remove $100,000 there for the homeowner's exemption. That would result in $150,000 in taxable valuation. And this is estimating that we'd have just about $127 per year would be the tax cost or tax burden to that homeowner to fund these 3 important projects for the community. Prior to conducting any type of bond election, the council must pass a bond ordinance, and that ordinance establishes the bond election date, the ballot question that will be placed to the public, that identifies the purpose of the bond election and the use of the proceeds, the bond term and anticipated interest rates, the total interest expenses, as well as identifying any existing GEO bond debt that the city may have, which we have none at this time. It also includes a requirement that you estimate the taxpayer impact per 100,000 of assessed valuation, and again, that was about $85 in the bond that we were considering moving forward at this time. With assistance of our bond counsel that we have secured and financial advisors, we prepared the bond ordinance for the council's consideration. GO bonds, as you're aware, in Idaho require a supermajority of 66 2/3% to pass. So it is a fairly high standard, and it'll be up to the community to come forward and support the project if they wish to do so. Staff then recommends that the council or the committee forward the ordinance to the full council at the upcoming February 19th meeting, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I think it's pretty straightforward that we want to move this forward to the full council and on the regular agenda, get as much public awareness of this as soon as possible. And
Jim, I got a couple of things I'd like to say if I could
Sure.
about this. I'm always busting at the seams about talking about this, and as all counselors very well know, we've been working on this in our strategic planning process for several years, and finally came to the conclusion where this could be built at. And a couple of things that always come to interest in me, dollars and cents always makes a big difference to me, as it should all of us, because how we spend our money here in the city of Moscow is very, very critical. And as a homeowner myself, looking at a 10-year bond, if you just take these numbers, and the 2.21% interest rate is a killer rate for us to get. I mean, that is really terrific. But we figured this out at a 10-year rate at 2.50%. If you take that 10-year bond at 2.5%, that's about $1.3 million in interest. If you go to the 15, it's 2.4 million. So by cutting it off 5 years, you're saving 1.1 million bucks. And just for fun of it, and I tell people things like this all the time because I love numbers, that's 2 fire trucks. It's 2 brand new fire trucks. If you go up to the 20-year, it's about 2.2 million, roughly 2.3 million, and that is a whole fleet of every fire truck that we've got. And so I always like to look at this and see what the dollars and cents are. And as Bill had showed you the breakdown of it, I'm going to be talking a lot about this next week. Incidentally, we have the State of the City, which I plan on speaking about this very thing, as a number of different other public meetings that I'm going to have with various groups over these next several months. And I just want to thank the council in advance because we've got every single one of you on board, and that's a pretty cool thing to have. And I got a chance to talk to people out in our community about that, as I know each one of you will as well. So I'm very tickled that this is part of our infrastructure, and as a city, we need to just keep plugging away and move forward with our infrastructure because we don't want to be one of those towns that fall behind. Because when you fall behind and you do the catch up, as some cities do, it is absolutely miserable and very, very spendy. So I just want to put a plug into it. I think every single one of you know how I feel about it. So with that, I'm glad that this is going to be on the regular agenda, Jim, because I think every time we get a chance to talk about this, it's going to be great.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Thanks for your presentation, Bill. Thank you.
I think this is one of those projects that absolutely has to go forward. The current police station is woefully inadequate, and a lot of this hinged on trying to find the right plot of land in town on which to situate it, and that took a lot of doing to find that. And so I'm glad to see things have finally lined up and can move ahead. So I'm very supportive of this resolution to proceed with the bond.
Yeah, it's been a major challenge area, top of the major challenge area list for as long as I've been on the council, and I think yourself as well, and
Yep.
certainly Ann. And so I think it's great that we're moving forward with it. Yeah, regular agenda. Okay, that concludes the regular items on the agenda. Now we have a report from Mr. Palmer on what's going on with the 3rd Street Bridge project. Perhaps maybe we've got a diagram or something we can see what it looks like.
I'm going to do some interpretive dance of the bridge, Councilman Mullen. I think it'll be really tasteful and everyone will appreciate it. Just happy to be back to give an update on where we stand with our bike and pedestrian bridge for 3rd Street at Paradise Creek. Got some good things to report this month. We actually have received our approved permit, so our 404 permit is through, and that was really exciting. We thought we might have to wait up to a month, but since the scope of the project hadn't changed significantly from the original 404 permit that we were granted, they deemed that it was not necessary to go through the entire month-long waiting period for comments on that process. And so we we were able to get that processed quicker than we thought we were going to be able to. And that's, largely a credit to our environmental services group and the relationships they have with the regulatory organizations. We were able to get that taken care of. So now we're just we've got a few final design phase things that we're working out with True North, fabrications beginning, and we still anticipate being able to meet our mid-April anticipated installation. So as soon as we get a break in the weather, we'll start excavation to get the super sills set, and then have those delivered, get those in place, and then plop a bridge on there.
Cool. So we'll have, like shop drawings here pretty soon we can look at?
Yeah, we've got just the final details on the shop drawings that are being finalized. There was an adjustment to the depth of the seal based on the geotech work that was done, and then the handrail that they're adding back in. And that's it. And so once we get those drawings, we'll be able to, we certainly should have shop drawings for the March update that we can share.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Nice work on the snow, by the way.
Fun. It's going to continue to be fun.
Okay, that concludes everything on our agenda for today, and in record time, I would say. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Let's go.
Okay,
Yeah.
done deal. Thank you.